to be educated, but I'm so frustrated.
So guys, I hear this crazy story about Led Zeppelin. There's this legend that they got about a doggone mud shark and stuff like that. Some of y'all probably heard the story, but when I was looking into it, I'm thinking, man, this is crazy, man. Rock and roll, man, they got all kinds of stuff that happened back in the day, you know what I mean? Especially at the beginning of the rock and roll days, you know, tearing up hotels and all kinds of crazy stuff that used to happen on the road and stuff like that. But there's this story about some girl, the mud shark, and the members of the band and stuff like that that took place. And I thought, man, these guys were on another level when it came down to craziness, stuff that you never used to hear in the mainstream. But it's all over the internet these days, man. We're going to look into it. Mr. V-Man, tell me a little bit more about this story. But we got to clean this thing up, man, because there's a lot of freaky stuff going on here.
Mr. Mindset, you sure you want to get into this crazy story, bruh? On second thought, I know. I got no choice. Well, anyway, the infamous mud shark incident tied to Led Zeppelin remains one of rock's most salacious stories, swirling around legends of debauchery during the peak of the band's fame in the late 1960s. While it is often embellished and hazy with contradictory details, a clearer account emerged from Carmine Appice, the drummer of Vanilla Fudge, in his memoir Stick It. In July 1969, while Led Zeppelin and Vanilla Fudge were both staying at Seattle's Edgewater Inn, which was famous for allowing guests to fish from their windows into the bay, the wild escapade allegedly took place. The original tale, according to Appice and recounted by Frank Zappa's comedic 1971 song The Mud Shark, involved the bands and a groupie who willingly participated in shocking acts, using a mud shark caught from the bay.
That's right, you heard right. The secret word for tonight is mud shark. The origins of the mud shark are as follows.
Though often told as a hilarious and outrageous episode, the reality of what transpired paints a darker picture, one that involves disturbing consent issues despite Appice's claims that the groupie was bucking and screaming with pleasure. The late Richard Cole, Zeppelin's former road manager, who originally propagated much of the story, admitted to embellishing the event. His recounting in Stephen Davis's notorious Hammer of the Gods biography described something far more lurid, a young groupie said to have been penetrated with pieces of a shark while being tied to a bed. Cole's own subsequent memoir attempted to clarify his role, dismissing the more extreme accusations while asserting that the groupie was not harmed at all. These claims further fueled the controversy. Appice, however, stands by his version, arguing that while shocking, it was a different time. He recalls how he and others present eventually left the room, appalled by the escalating scenario. Appice's recounting adds a touch of nostalgia for a bygone era of peace and love, but it also points out the reckless and often exploitative behavior that permeated the rock scene of the time. He also reveals that the so-called video footage of the incident, filmed by Vanilla Fudge singer Mark Stein, has long been lost or destroyed. In a surprising twist, years later, a woman from Alaska called into a radio show claiming to be the very groupie from that infamous night. Allegedly, Jackie, who may have been the 17-year-old redhead involved, explained that she had moved on from that wild chapter in her life. She said she had raised a family and was living a quiet life in an anonymous place somewhere in the world. Yeah, what a strange conclusion to one of rock's most sordid sagas. Ultimately, the mud shark incident serves as a reminder of the excesses of rock's golden age and its long-lasting cultural impact. While it may be framed as a tale of rockstar hedonism, modern perspectives on consent and exploitation cast it in a more troubling light.
Yeah, man, those were the days, man, I guess. Hey, man, I tell you what, I've seen a lot of freaky things happen on the road, and groupies are willing to do some of anything to get a little bit of attention and stuff like that. But these guys were doing some things that these days you probably wouldn't get away with, because there ain't nobody going to let you get away with it, knowing that they can get some attorney to step in and put it in a court setting and walk away with millions and whatnot. You know what I mean? That's how it was back in the day, but these days, no way. You know what I mean? Led Zeppelin, that's a legend. Some people say it's not true, but when you look at the fact of, like, you know, Carmine Appice and his stories and other people's stories, and they kind of quote exactly what kind of happened, you know, they did some crazy stuff, man. heard they, took a little douche on the girl and a pee-pee and things like that and all kinds of crazy stuff, man. It is said that the girl kind of lives anonymously now, raised a family and stuff like that, but it's kind of word out that she somewhere in the Alaska area. But, hey, man, back in the days, I can remember when I was young and we did some crazy things, and, hey, man, I tell you what, I just say, ask me no questions, I tell you no lies. All right, guys, I hope y'all appreciated that and come back to the Music Mindset channel. We do this type of stuff. Appreciate you every time you come through, and we'll see you in the next one.